A campaign has just ended that has proven one thing to me and has made it absolutely clear. Crowdfunded board games are not dead, but bad campaigns are. Alright, this is going to be a fun video, of course. I'm excited to talk about it because it's good to talk about good news and about the industry doing well. We don't get enough of that this year. Hopefully next year will be a little bit better. I will, by the way, interject real quick to say I will have a fundraiser soon, so stay tuned for an announcement around that. I typically give away thousands of dollars worth of games to the community here, so I'm glad that you're a part of it, and I will be announcing more very, very soon. We're so close. We're so close. But enough about me. Let's talk about Nemesis Retaliation. If you didn't know, this is the latest Nemesis game in the trilogy of Nemesis games until they make a fourth one invariably, and I don't see why they shouldn't. People are obviously loving it. This is by Awakened Realms. It's on GameFound right now. You can see the screen right now. 12 million raised from 41,000 backers. Now, I know in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to other forms of entertainment, video games, movies, music, all that, that is not a lot. But for something like this, it is actually quite huge and very noteworthy, especially for the year that crowdfunding and board gaming has had. You see, they used to make all sorts of like really good profits and companies were doing well and everybody was happy and there was a lot of backers and it was just all hunky-dory. This is about 2019 and before. And then ever since then, we've been having a lot of issues because these board games are expensive and they're made, years in advance, or they have you buy it and then years in advance, and then way later they make it and actually deliver it. And the prices with COVID and a whole bunch of other stuff came up, and just companies were going so fast and invariably at some point they would falter, and they did constantly. I believe the first video that I made in this year, it was essentially like 2023's already off to a bad start. And that's because 2022 was already kind of crummy. It's been a lot of missteps. It's been a lot of negative news. And it's not something that, as somebody who actually enjoys this industry and this hobby and loves the stuff that we do here, it's really disheartening. It's not fun to make this kind of video. So I love seeing this. This is fantastic. Now I have a few points here. As I said, crowdfunded board games are not dead. If that was the case, you wouldn't see somebody making over $12 million in revenue, not profit, in revenue, just from this. And granted, the Pledge Manager can often double, sometimes more than double, the amount raised. It depends on a whole host of things. But one of the key things is the ability to increase pledges and having a long Pledge Manager. Now, I don't know how long their Pledge Manager is going to be, but there's definitely room to increase pledges. We'll talk about that briefly, but I think there's a few things that led to the success of this that I want to point out, both for backers, so you guys know, hey, what to look out for, but also for you developers to actually, kind of maybe take a little bit of notes and figure out, what worked, what didn't. A lot of times we look at a lot of statistics, and so the statistics you should look at here is that this is the biggest crowdfunded board game this year. All of 2023, this is the biggest. Why were they successful? Were so many others canceled, failed, had issues, barely, eked by a funding goal, whatever it is? Nemesis didn't have that. So what's going on here? Well, I think the first thing is it's just a well-crafted campaign. I think that's huge, of course. It had a lot of build up to it. People knew about it. They had a lot of really good updates before the campaign even launched and really brought your audience. There was a recent article I read. It was on Board Game Wire, where one of the people that manage a campaign, he was talking. One of the things he said was, he was saying Kickstarter specifically, but crowdfunding in general, is to monetize your audience, not to create it. Now, the whole monetize the audience sounds bad, right? But what he's trying to say here is, you don't go to Kickstarter to find people and get people to find you. You do that before the campaign. And if you do that hustle and you do that correctly, then at the time that the crowdfunding's there, you can actually take that audience that you've crafted that are interested in your game and monetize it, actually have them buy stuff from you, right? And that is a very legitimate thing and very important. Awakened Realms really did the groundwork for this when it came to being at conventions and showing it off, and again, having those updates, having votes, engaging in the community, having it visible and available for people to follow and stuff like that. That's step one, of course. But there's a lot of companies that do that, and then they fail to actually get those followers to backers, right? That's kind of the hard transition. And you see that time and time again. You'll have, 10,000 people following and only 1,000 back. That means 9 out of every 10 people decided that were interested enough to click follow didn't follow through with actually giving you money. Well, what happened there? That's where the rest of the campaign comes in. And I think this is just well done when it comes to that. This is kind of added afterwards, right? So bypassing that, though, that's been there for a little bit because it's been the case for a little bit. They start out with like a why back now, and they go straight to a value. Now, the value proposition of this campaign is debatable for a lot of you. I know that. I'm not going to get into that. What I am just showing here is that they're focused on advertising that right away, right? And then, of course, all the stretch goals and what you get. But then they kind of go from that to actually just kind of saying like, hey, this is an established product. This is something you can know, you can understand. And I think having a game you can understand, a product for sale that people can get behind is so important. I'm going to talk about an example outside of board games, just briefly. The Wii U. Nintendo made the Wii, and it was hugely successful to the point where people who weren't normally owning game consoles, modern game consoles, were getting it. People's grandparents were getting that normally wouldn't, right? I mean, it was a huge seller, massively successful. And then they came out with the Wii U. And you know what constantly confused people, especially those people that don't normally buy them, is I already have a Wii at home. Why would I get a Wii U? When it's so similar and then what the product is so different from what you had before, it's very hard for especially a casual consumer to really understand it. And most casual consumers aren't going to then spend the time to investigate and read up and do the research on why they should give you money. They're just going to keep walking by their merry way and just think, I don't need that. I think the same thing happened with a lot of board games. We try to be innovative, we try to do new things, and that's super okay, but you have to be able to essentially have your elevator pitch of the game, or at least point and be like, hey, you guys like Nemesis? This is just like that, right? This helps to have sequels, right? So this is the third game in the series, and while it's different, and they explain how it's different, they were also pointing to the other ones established. It's quality. Quality is a big point here, right? They're very big on showing the miniatures up front and stuff like that. And then they break down exactly what's on offer. And then they go into actual gameplay stuff, which is, again, I think super great. I think it's a very smart deal. And they do this for quite a bit, probably more than I normally would, but this has been here. It's not anything new. People have been able to see this since before the campaign launched, so nothing here was a surprise. Even the price wasn't. And so you could really estimate, hey, how well is this going to do? And I think that's important. Being able to display each room like this, by the way, super helpful to show that there's a lot on offer, right? Actually showing multiple piles of, different items and then showing them here and stuff like that. A lot of that really helps. All the quality components, also, again, very good. And then, of course, again, minis. Now, they do this one thing. I don't necessarily agree with this, but I know it helps, and I know that's why they do it, where they add a texture overlay, a fake texture over everything. You'll see it even on the rim here. You'll see it on, the robots mostly, where it looks like they're made out of, I don't even know what. It just looks kind of silly. On the aliens, it looks pretty normal. On the people, it makes them look like they're all old, right? So I don't really agree with this fake texture they put on everything. But it's there to show the render very well, and I get that. Either way, big pictures, you can clearly see this. How often have you seen a campaign where the minis are so small? They're not afraid to really have some good UI here when it comes to just the overall layout of everything. The graphic design, I apologize, is quite stellar here in a big way, a really impressive way, and I think that's important. And then again, you just keep going on with more stuff and how to do it and stuff like that. Oh, this right here, do you see how even on the tires, there's it just looks kind of silly when it's on stuff that should be smooth and it's just not. It's just okay, there's weird, texture on it, whatever. And then you get into the rewards, and the rewards I feel also were pretty well understood. They expanded it only slowly. One of the benefits here, and they did cheat a little bit, is this is really 3 campaigns in one. Now, a lot of companies do this, and it's very easy to pump your numbers up this way. And it's good to pump up profit too, because reprints are like printing money. You don't have to pay for all the art assets, all the R&D, all that stuff's done. Even all the molds are already created typically for you. As long as you stay with the same manufacturer, you can print that sucker. And you can even charge more than you did the first time, because backers get upset if you charge less, because then it's like, well, why are they paying less than I did when I got it, right? And so you actually can charge more, and it costs you less to make because of all the other added costs are already there, pretty much starting in the profit zone. It's pretty darn nice. And that's what's happening here, right? Like, most of this kind of stuff will be, some of it's the new game, but a lot of it's the old games too that you can still get, and people will still pay for it and get it here because they just want to get everything all there. They don't want to deal with the retail stuff. It's easy just to click buy and then get it April 2025 or whatever, right? And so that's quite nice. And then, of course, there's Stretch Pay that's only on GameFound. GameFound's very helpful with that. And so even like this $900 pledge, which you think, that's like huge, who's going to spend that? But you'd be surprised how many people will spend $128 a month for all of that. And they do a great job of showing it just looks packed, right? It's literally overflowing the screen that they provide there. Very, very good. Another smart thing they did is these stretch goals, where they really highlighted them, and they had a variety of them. They have these votes, they have the serious ones, they have the nice ones, and then they have the fun ones. And they kind of disperse those fairly throughout, which I thought was pretty good. And then of course they have the add-ons, and again, this is where you make just that's where you're printing profit, right? It's through all of this and how people are just adding this and adding this. And this is where the pledge manager, again, is going to be huge for them. They're going to easily, I suspect, make over 20 million. Once the pledge manager actually closes. Now, you don't typically see that number, right? Only a few pledge managers actually show that. I wish more did, because it'd be super interesting. At least it would be for me, and I'm sure people like me that would be interested in that. But it's really, really nice, because you can just, people over time just add more to their pledge. Oh, I got a bit more money. Oh, I'm over here again. You guys post an update? Yeah, I'll update. Oh, that update looks cool. Awakened Realms will even add stuff during the pledge manager, even additional stuff to get people not just to back that one, but once they're in there, also, oh yeah, I could get that now. Oh yeah, I remember that. That $20, sure, I can get that. I have it right now. It gets people back in the pledge manager, adding items. It's genius. Awakened Realms knows what they're doing. They're smart. That is a great looking box, by the way. That's great. So anyway, and then after that, you actually have a stretch goal highlight where they really highlight, everything that they're adding and all the content involved and all that. You can click on it and kind of get more information, get more detail on it. It's super cool that they did that. And then later on, they do stuff like, hey, here's more about the Nemesis trilogy. Now, this is just a repeated image, but if you scroll past it, you can still see everything else. And then they even have the track record on their quality and stuff. They've established that they are a legitimate company. This is a safe back, that you can understand the product, that you can get it at a pretty decent price, and that you can rest assured everything else is hunky-dory. Everything is professional. Everything looks good. This is how you do well. All of that is pretty much what you do there. You got the proven track record. You have multiple campaigns, which again pumps up the number, right? So this would not have been 12 million without the other two Nemesis that you could buy, right? If you didn't have those really high pledges, this would not have been as high. Now, it's still great, granted, but it's not just Retaliation making 12 million. It's all those other ones that are also adding to it. But again, those are mostly profit too. So if they're adding to the revenue, that's a good thing. That just makes that revenue a better portion of profit than it would be otherwise if it was just all new stuff. So yeah, it's great either way. But it really, again, goes to show that if you do things right, if you make a quality product, if you communicate it well, if you establish a good presence, if you gather a following, if you have clear goals, if you show yourself professionally, you can do quite well. It's not an excuse to say that people just aren't here, or this wouldn't happen. This happens because people are excited about a board game and they're happy to pledge it. It's not, they're still bickering, right? We went over some of that with the pricing and stuff like that. I get it, right? Nothing is perfect, especially right now in board gaming. But it's great to see a success like this. It's great to end the year on a success like this. I hope this is a good sign for 2024. I'll obviously be there for you guys. I'll be monitoring the situation on all these companies, all these reprints that are coming out, these big campaigns that have already been announced. I'll have a video soon covering a lot of that, and it's going to be all hype. I'm just going to be super excited about all these cool games, because at the end of the day, that's why we're all here, because we love these board games and we're excited for them. And I think that's great. just know that there is potential here. It's not all bad. You just have to not have a bad campaign. If you have a bad campaign, it's going to do bad. It's as simple as that. If you have any other thoughts on this, I'd love to hear, of course. And again, I will be having a fundraiser soon, so please stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead to. I think about half of you guys that watch my videos haven't subscribed. Go ahead and do it. It helps the YouTube algorithm actually feed you these videos so that you can actually see them, especially in a prompt time, so I can get you, early backs, stuff like that. And of course, it helps the channel out as well. So if you appreciate the content, I do appreciate it because that's what sponsors look at and stuff like that. And so it does help me a lot. Thank you so much. Guys, have a great rest of your day, of course. I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Like I said, I'm working on that 2024 video. There's going to be a lot. I have a huge list of campaigns that I'll be going over. So if you want to look at what's coming up next, stay tuned for that for sure. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Congratulations, Awakened Realms. Hope everybody that backed it has a great time with their game in like 2025 or whenever that's delivering. All right, take care. Bye, guys.